It's funny because I didn't want to speak last because I didn't want to go after the doctor. Now I'm worried that I have to speak after such a great performance, so now I'm even more nervous, right? Firstly, is it a bit too loud? Is it okay? Perfect. I think the first thing I want to say is that I'm always amazed that people take time to come out of their busy schedules, out of their long jobs. For history, my father was a teacher, so he always cared a lot more about his kids than himself, or about his finances, or his household finances. He was worried about developing people. That's what he's good at. The problem is that who develops teachers then? Who gives them the information? Because I know for a fact, and because I lived with one, that they do not go out of their way to look for themselves. They look for other people. That's what teachers do. That's why I'm here. That's why half of us at work here are here. But I think that also, we're going to talk a little bit about finance, just a little bit, but first and foremost, my name is Leveil, as you all know, but they can make me wear a suit, they can't make me change my socks, my personality is very different, so this will be slightly different for you. At the beginning of my presentation, I always tell people, you do not have to invest here, we do not sell, but if you can go away with something for yourself that makes you think a little bit differently about money, change your relationship with it, understand it, then we've done our job. And that's what we do. All right, everybody still with me? Yes. First and foremost, so who are we? That's kind of a weird one because you're here, but whenever we travel around, I always hear people ask, who's Allan Gray? What do we actually do? Well, Allan Gray, largest privately owned investment management firm in South Africa. We look after roughly 586 billion rand in assets under management, and those range from individuals as well as organizations. The first thing I must tell you is that Allan Gray and companies like this is for everyone. The minimum to invest is 500 rand a month. So don't ever feel like you cannot approach or invest companies like this. That's the first one. The second part of this is that we partner with our sister company Orbis, which is our offshore company. But in this particular building, we are over 1,000 people. It's now 1,281. To give you some context, when I started, I think it was like 380. And that's about 8 years ago. So the company's grown dramatically. However, only a small portion of that looks after the money. Like 23 people are looking after 586 billion rand in assets under management. That's because each one of them are individually accountable for what they do. We also believe that they bring their own ideas individually to manage this money, so you get that from that. But here's the thing. Allan Gray started its equity fund 1 October 1998. Right? Exactly 20 years up until 30 September. If you put 1,000 rand away, and you can't answer because I asked you this earlier, 1,000 rand, if you put 1,000 rand away in our equity fund and just left it, how much do you think 1,000 rand would have been worth 30 September? 20 years. Your money would have been more than 56 times its amount. So from your 1,000 rand, it would have been over 56,000 rand. Now we all want that. If it was 10,000 rand, it would be 560,000 rand. If it was 100,000, it would be 5.6 million. We all want that, but here's the question I always ask everyone. How many of us here can invest for 20 years and never touch the money? That's the question. Not the millions, but can you leave your money? So today I thought I wouldn't talk about us. I talk about that long-term wealth creation takes two parts. Allan Gray is one, right? We invest the money, that's what we do. However, where they overlap, investor behavior is very important, right? Investor behavior is one of the chief reasons why investors don't get the same returns necessarily as they expect. And why is that? When you take money out, who takes the money out? Me. When you change your debit order, who does that? Me. When you do withdrawals when you shouldn't? Me. So your behavior is very important. So we'll chat a little bit about that. And there are some things that are maybe practical and things you know, but hopefully I'll change the way you think about this just a little bit. Some thoughts on investing. I think the first one is I'll ask a question, right? Everyone I ask, what is your goal? I bet I could go through the room. Every person will be able to tell me. But here's one. Show me where you spend your money, and I'll show you what your goals are. Don't tell me where you're spending your money. Don't tell me what your goals are. Show me. Show yourself. Have a look at your bank statement. If you want to buy a house, but you're out, for someone my age, probably partying, for instance, it means that my needs and goals are not aligned with what I want to achieve. So it's very important to understand that. Now, what are some of the things that I thought I'd leave you with? I thought I'd touch on things we all know. First thing, Everyone laughs, yet everyone still does it. Lots of people do it. Right? And I'll tell you a little story about this. I put that particular car because my friends actually own a car like that. Right? So they are husband and wife, they've got matching ones. That's what I said too, right? So the first part to that is, I think about it like this and I go, that's great. Is it something to aspire to, someone that's really that successful? Absolutely. Is it something to chase? He's chasing that car, his dream or my dream? His or mine? Here's the story. I drove the same car. Some people may have heard me say this already, but there's actually a change to this. I drove the same car I drove for almost 13 years. I grew up in Athlone, Pokmakiri, Hazendal, in Cape Town, so we weren't really well off. But what I did learn very early on was that my parents could teach me what? He was a teacher. What could he teach me? Discipline. Right? So the way to think about things. I drove a car for almost 13 years. After I paid the car for 5 years, what do most people do after 5 years? Buy a new car. Why do they buy a new car? Give me one valid reason. The keyword was valid. I like that the teachers listened and they heard the word valid. But usually it's status, right? It's status. But status for who? So I drove the car for 12 years. And here's the thing about money. People think money is about practicality. Money is about emotions. Because why do we keep up with Joneses? Because we're not strong enough to understand that personal finance is what? Personal. It's personal. It's on you. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. So for the first 5 years, I paid the car off. Then I would like to say that I knew how the story would unfold 7 years later, but I didn't. So I can't take that credit. But my mother did say, don't pay the bank for the first year. That's what she said. Not knowing what that would mean. So the first year I didn't pay the bank. Great. Second year I didn't pay the bank. Third year I didn't pay the bank. Fifth year I didn't pay the bank. Rough. Get to the 7th year after paying up the cost. That's 12 years. Now I'm 32. Everyone pulls up to a party. My friends pull up. Mercedes-Benz. BMW. Then when they want to talk to me, I gotta sit like this. They hit a button. But at the end of the day, this is what it takes. Yeah. Is that I need to be strong enough to handle those knocks, those kicks. But why am I able to do that 12 years on? Because growing up, I had a couple of goals in life. I had to contribute to both my sisters getting to university. It's much bigger than a car. Driving that car did not get my sister the law degree. That's the reality of where you're at and the decisions you have to make. It's an emotional decision. And it's about controlling those emotions when it comes to money. Right, so we move on. We're now in the 12th year now. I'm from Cape Town. I'm born here. You obviously know what race I am. So you know what car I had. Right, so I had a Golf Velocity 1.4. That's what I had. So now you know I didn't have aircon. Didn't have aircon, and we went through a drought recently. I didn't have aircon. Don't have power steering. Didn't have a radio. Didn't have electronic windows. So why would a person like me who has a fairly decent job not do those things? And that's the judgment that I had to deal with. But I did. Now we look back, middle of this year, and Pico's in the audience, my colleague, and I always tell him how hard it was to drive that old car. The good behavior that I showed in the 7 years of not paying the bank. But what was the other part to that? When I stopped paying those debit orders, what did I do with the debit order? I didn't spend it. For the next 7 years, I put that money away. And in the middle of this year, for a kid from Athlone who had to buy his own car, travel on a taxi to university, I was able to buy a car cash. Brand new, out the box. Simply because of the discipline. Not because I earn a lot of money, not because I come from wealth, not because my parents could give me money, but because I practice good discipline. So it's very important to not try to keep up, because it's other people's goals. Understand what your goals are. New house, travel, whatever that may look like. All right? Now that you've got some good behavior, what's one of the things I always tell people? Pay yourself first. Do not spend what is left off. Do not save what is left after spending. But spend what is left after saving. In a practical world, what does that mean? If you're anything like me. You pay on the 27th. The last day of the month is a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. If they phone me and I tell myself, I'll save what's left on the 26th, the day before payday. And then it's Black Friday the 26th. Or I have to go out. Or I get a phone call. What does my bank account look like the next day? It's not there. Then what do we tell ourselves? Next month. Now I'll ask the question here. of all the times you've told yourself next month, what percentage do you even think you did it next month? The other thing about money is being honest. So I'm honest, I couldn't do the next month thing, but what could I do? Allan takes its debit orders on the 1st of the month. I get paid on the 27th. So the 1st of the month, I extend myself, and that's where most of it goes. And what do I put on the tagline in my budget? Me. Because who works for the money? Me. But who do we all pay first? Everyone else. Be very careful to not include yourself. And convince yourself that the money that you're paying other people is still yours. Because it's not. What's yours is what's left. And what you do with that is important. So put in the right process. Right? Do not do it if you have bad behavior. And I understand I have bad behavior. So now we make it easy. Goes up on the 1st. What does it do? Come the 26th. They phone me. At Allan Gray, to get money out of a withdrawal, it takes anywhere from 2 to 3 business days to get the money back. My friends phone me on a Friday. I can only go out Monday, maybe. Right? Because it's in another account. It's another lane. I can't even touch it. So I protect me from me by having good behavior. Put the process in place to protect yourself. That's the importance. All right? So that's what that means. And I mean, if Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, is saying something so simple, why are we not listening? Because we need the money. He really doesn't. All right? So let's think about it properly. One more thing to think about very quickly for me is this. Everyone always asks, what's the best product for me? What's the best product out there? What can I get the best return on? I want you to think about it another way. Can you get to a destination without a plan how to get there? Can you get to a destination without knowing how the car will get there, how you'll put the petrol in, how you'll travel, which road? It's inefficient, right? You'll drive around in circles. Same thing with money. Start with a plan. Then it makes the product choice easier. What does the plan look like? How much can I invest? How long do I want to invest for? How much risk can I take? Personally, am I risk averse? Do I want to take some? What is my plan for the money? Do I want to go overseas? And you can have different plans because you'll need different products for different plans. If you're going away for 2 years, if you're going away in 2 years' time, can you invest in a 10-year product? Can you expect the same returns? They're not aligned. It's very important to align them all. Your goals, your needs, our goals, to what your need is. Always fit you to the product, not the product to you. Right? Very important. Once we've got the plan, and that's where we start, because now you're comfortable, 5 years, 10 years. Now that I've got a plan, what's next? Time. There's no quick fix for making lots of money. Not Triple M, not World Ventures. It's risky. To make quick money is high risk. All the people that you know that have gone into those things, do you think they've lost money? Do you think they'll go into something else that's like that again? I'm going with yes, because it's not the first one they went into either. It's very easy. We need to be confident in ourselves and act with conviction that quick money, you can, yes, but should that be where you put everything? Absolutely not. Should it be this, that you understand that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world, not Table Mountain, compound interest. He who understands it, right, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it. Because compound interest works both ways. So it's important to understand how they work. Compound interest, getting money on money, the official way of making money work for you. Money, interest plus money and interest, all the time. But you can only do that with what element? Time. Compound interest doesn't happen in days. It's time. Very quick one for you is this, for you to look at time for me is this. We take 2 investors. If you had invested and taken the returns on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, so the ALSI right now, if you had to take all those returns and you had to take it back over 40 years. Investor 1, the red line, invested 1,000 Rand a month for the first 10 years and stopped. His total contribution was 120,000. The investor in grey decided that I'm not going to start the first 10 years. I'm actually going to start 1,000 Rand per month for the next 30 years. So I won't contribute the first 10. I'll start 10 years later and contribute for the rest of the 30 years. His total contribution has been 360,000. With the returns as they were for both, they would have ended up on exactly the same return 40 years later. Yet they would have contributed 3 times the amount. And that decision only comes from delaying it. Because it's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market. You cannot get the return if you're not in it. But you got to be in it for all of it. Not only when it's good. Very quick one. This is me. If someone told me, this is an Allan Gray investment, well, one with us right now, obviously. In 2007, if someone came to me and said, Leveil, you can invest 1,000 rand. And as you can see with Allan Gray, the minimum is 500, 1,000 rand a month. I would have said no, because I was spending all the money, like I told you. I have no idea where it went, right? Now, if someone had told me and I had listened, and I had all these car struggles, now I think back and I go, 1,000 rand a month for 5 years. That's 60,000 rand, right? Over those 5 years. I then lose my job, and I stop the debit order. So I've contributed 60. At that point, my 60,000 is probably about 75,000 roughly. I stop it. And I have some good behavior, and I tell myself, even though I've lost my job, I'm actually not going to take this money. I'm going to try and find another job rather. I'm going to survive for now. I'm not going to assume the worst all the time. I don't need it right now. For the next 5 years, I left it. And your 60,000 would have grown to nearly 150,000 rand for doing nothing in 5 years. Again, the behavior is important. Other clients would have maybe left, would have taken it out, but it's about this particular client staying in. Right? Two things very important to remember that we spoke about now is what? Timing the market is extremely high risk because it's volatile, it's cyclical. You could be doing it when it's wrong. And if you sell out of your units or shares at any point when it's down in price, that means it becomes an actual cash loss. While it's invested, you still own the same units, they've just dropped in value because of what has happened. And it's understanding that you still own the same things. So jumping in and out is extremely high risk. Can you get it right? Absolutely. Do most people get it right? No. Very important. Stay the course. At Allan Gray, you can invest in various products, but if you're saving for retirement, a house, whatever it may be, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, stay the course. Do the research prior, understand the business, understand where you're going, understand that you're comfortable with what's going to happen, understand that it's going to be risky, understand that you are going to have to understand that it's going to be risky, and you're going to be comfortable with it. My mother, for instance, knows nothing about finance. I had to switch off her online account because she'd phone me whenever it moved. But it's because she didn't understand this, and that was on me. So I had to go and explain it. Now that she's comfortable with it, she doesn't mind the fluctuations. It's about understanding. My last thing to leave you with is this. My team and I, they're at the back. They all have Allan Gray tags on. I will have one too. We create an event called Circle of Friends. Essentially what this is my team and I, we go around the Western Cape, Gauteng, as well as kind of KwaZulu-Natal, and we let people know that education, financial inclusion, we have these conversations with them about products, about industry, about the GEPF, which some of you are in. We have those conversations to educate them. Because I grew up in Cape Town. I grew up here knowing that the financial understanding is lacking. And not because we can't understand it, but because we've never been introduced to it. My parents didn't know Allan Gray because they never knew. Not because they didn't try. And that's what we do. We take that out there. We give people the reality, the connections to understand how this works. And we have that without selling. We also don't charge you for it. So if you do want to get in touch with me to host any of this for your family, for your friends, for your schools, if your principals, for organizations, we partner and speak to corporates, university students, stockpiles. We just had a stockpile event recently to explain that stockpiles can also potentially use other products, but it's about education, not one. If they invest elsewhere, that's also great. In South Africa, we're trying to nation build. In a nation where it's 56 million people, the last statistic pulled up is that 6% of South Africans can retire. When I look around the country, there's more than 6% of fancy cars. It's a reality. It's about us understanding where we are and how we get there. Financial inclusion is about letting people know that you can invest all over. It is for everyone. We do not push people away. All right, so if you want to get a hold of me, that's how you do it. Drop me an email, drop me a WhatsApp, drop me a call, whatever the case may be, get a hold of us. Always remember, someone is sitting in the shade today because someone else planted a tree a long time ago. Thank you.